Hi, I'm Michael Lestrito, Managing Attorney at Chisholm, Kilpatrick. Today, I'll be talking to Dallas, one of our accredited claims agents, about the most important factor in back pay calculations, effective dates. Please like and subscribe if you find this video useful. So Dallas, let's get started. Why is the effective date so important?
The effective date is the date when VA begins to owe you disability benefits. So that's why it's so
Yeah, that
important.
does seem very important. Yes, yes. And so if VA grants a benefit, and they need to assign the date from which to begin paying a veteran, that is the date that they use to
Mhm.
begin payment. So obviously that is critically important. And so how does VA choose the effective date?
Generally, the effective date is when VA officially records the application for benefits. So that's when they get the claim and either by faxing it, mailing it, bringing it into the renal office. That's the date that they determine generally. For initial claims, it's not always when you start experiencing symptoms. So it's important to keep that in mind when you start filing claims.
Okay, so when might a veteran's effective date be different from the date that they filed their actual claim?
Yeah, so like I said, sometimes when you start experiencing symptoms might be when you get your effective date. But another important distinction is if you file your claim within a year of separation from active duty, your effective date could be the day after your separation. So the date after discharge from service. Another example are presumptive service connected conditions. So for conditions presumed to be related to military service, if the claim is filed within 1 year of separation, you could either have your effective date as day after separation or the date the disability arose. If we're filed after a year from separation, it's going to be the later date that VA receives the claim or the date the condition arose. There's also some instances where you may have filed a claim in the past and been denied, and a few years later, you want to reopen the claim. In those situations, VA is probably going to grant service connection if the claim is successful from the day that you reopen the claim.
Okay, so that's helpful. And so what happens then if, a veteran receives their effective date and they don't like the date, they don't think it's correct. What do they do if they disagree?
Yep, happens all the time. And if you think you were assigned the wrong effective date, you have the right to appeal this decision. It's important that you are filing an appeal or a review and not a new initial claim. So, for example, what you could do is file a higher level review request within a year of the rating decision. You could file a notice of disagreement to the board and elect either the direct evidence or hearing docket. And you can also file a supplemental claim within a year of the decision. This is going to require some new and relevant evidence, of course, but these are some ways that you can have your effective date reviewed. Again, you want to file an appeal and not a new claim.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Veterans sometimes think that they can come to us or on their own file a new claim for an earlier effective date of a claim that was long ago settled.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, that's not how it works under the VA regulations. So all the options to appeal that you just mentioned are critically important to understand, and those are the options for veterans should they disagree with the effective date that was assigned. Um, Another option, though, is what's called clear and unmistakable error. And so, Dallas, how does that affect a veteran's potential effective date?
So, if you were granted service connection for a claim many years ago and you're thinking about it maybe a decade later,
Mhm.
this doesn't seem right to me. So, if you missed out on the chance to file an appeal of the initial effective date, you can consider filing a requesting review based on a clear and unmistakable error or a Q. This is a specific type of request where veterans argue VA made a clear, unmistakable error in the original decision. And if this is proven, the effective date could be granted back to your initial filing, even if the appeal wasn't filed before that appeal window closed. These are really difficult cases to prove. So, if you think you might have this in one of your effective date issues, consider contacting a VA accredited advocate.
So the next question is, how do effective dates work when filing an increased rating claim?
Great question. So, if a veteran is seeking an increased rating, the effective date for the increase will usually be the date that VA receives the request. However, if medical evidence is showing that the condition worsened before the claim for increase was filed, VA might assign an earlier effective date based on that evidence. And I will say, if you get a decision granting your initial service connection you don't agree with that rating, make sure you're electing one of those important review lanes we talked about a minute ago, because you may be able to get the right rating back to the initial effective date of the claim.
And finally, when it comes to TDIU, which is total disability based on individual unemployability, how do effective dates work for those sorts of claims?
Yeah, so veterans applying for TDIU, the effective date can be the date the evidence shows you became unable to work due to your service connected disabilities, or the date that VA received your claim. And it's really important for these cases to include some medical records, employment records, showing when your condition started affecting your ability to work to ensure that you're getting the earliest possible effective date for TDIU.
So clearly, effective dates are critical in determining how much back pay you receive. So make sure you understand the rules around them. They can be complicated, and consult a VA accredited attorney if you believe that VA assigned the wrong date. Be sure to check out our other videos and all of our blogs to learn more information about effective dates, TDIU, and VA appeals. And please like, subscribe, and leave any questions in the comments. Take care.